Hacer abete perro begerto. Yeta perro begelo que comin. Vai carnish beaderto. Yish beabegelo que comin. Genish hacho hatarota arushanoto. Benki.
Shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. It's 𝐤𝑃𝐿𝐃𝐍𝐉. And today we're going to talk about Adoni versus Adonay in Psalms 110:1 and Psalms 110:5. All right. This video was inspired by a commenter on one of my posts on the community tab. If you don't go check out my posts, go check them out. I post articles and different things on there all the time. So this was inspired because of that. All right. So Adoni and Adonay. What is the difference? In the Paleo, they would both be spelled the same, right? It would be a aleph, a dalit, and a noon, and a yod, right? It would be spelled the same way, and the placement of the speaker, which vowels he would use, would denote the context. Okay, so now let's get into this presentation. Psalms 110 is often used in the Christian and Christian Israelite community as a prophecy of Christ. But what does the grammar show? Did David write it, or is it about David? This presentation aims to show you what the grammar shows for you to formulate your own conclusion as to what to believe. Watch the video in its conclusion and leave a comment, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the information. Watch the whole of this video, okay? Because it's gonna you won't, if you watch a few minutes of it, this and that, think you got the understanding, you won't get that. A lot of y'all will leave a comment and this and that, ask me questions that I already covered in the video. Lets me know that you didn't watch the whole thing or you didn't watch it at all. All right, so watch the whole thing and then leave a comment. You know, chances are your question might be answered in the video. So Psalms 110 in 𝐤𝑃𝐿𝐃𝐍𝐉. The preposition lamed means for, or to, or toward. The psalm starts off with 𝐤𝑑AVID Mizmor Naum Yahweh, right? Yahweh. Of David a psalm, said Yahweh. So right here we see the psalm is associated with David and not written by David. Of David a psalm, said Yahweh. Toward David a psalm, said Yahweh. And then as they render it to David, a psalm said Yahweh. David didn't write this psalm. Okay, somebody in his court did, whether it was the Levite singers of Haman or somebody else, but the somebody in the king's court wrote this psalm about King David, and we're going to go into the grammar and show you. So Adonai has the yod as an I-class vowel, denoting a human master, sovereign, or authority figure. Adonai denotes has an A-class vowel, and it denotes the divine. It is synchronically singular in meaning and grammar. It serves as a reverential substitute. This distinction is consistent around the Tanakh, across the Tanakh. So now we have Adonai, right? Adonai. This right. We have Adonai. As you can see, the Masoretes preserved from the Paleo Hebrew. As we know, Paleo is an Abjad language, but they preserved the Paleo Hebrew since it was an Abjad language, right? And you see it right here. In the above, you see under the noon, the 𝐤𝑃𝐿𝐃, which shows an A-class vowel. Right here in the white, the 𝐤𝑃𝐿𝐃 yod. It makes the nay, Adonai. This shows hataf patah right here, a halom right here for the do, and a 𝐤𝑃𝐿 for do nay, and with the yod being a matris lationis with an I-class as an I-class vowel. This shows plural of majesty in form, and this is also frozen in lexical. This is also a frozen lexical form, which means that it can't be changed. Can't add pluralisms or anything to this one, to Adonai. It cannot take possessive suffixes, cannot be further pluralized. It always governs singular verbs. And how is it used? It's used to address / a title of Yahweh only. never used for human beings. And you see this in Genesis 18:3. And that was the example that I gave the brother in the comment section, that example, and we're going to go into it and break it down further. Okay. Now look here, right? My paleo symbols messed up when it got rendered. So, but look to the left, you see Adonai and you see Adonay. You see right here, no, supposed to be in the paleo, it's the exact same. But notice in the paleo, the spelling does not change, but the pronunciation changes. This also changes the context of the word meaning. To the left, you see under the noon, the hierarch yod, yod hierarch yod, halom. This shows the I class vowel ni, right? Do, nai. You have do right here, the dalit with the halom, do, and you have the noon with the hierarch yod, nai, Adonai. Here you have the same thing, the dalit with the halom, but here you have noon kametz, yod, nay. All right, so this shows hataf patah, kataf patah, a halom, a hierarch, and then this right here, the hierarch yod, suffers as a first person singular possessive suffix my, right? My. This is a singular noun plus suffix, a productive form. It can be pluralized. This cannot be pluralized. Can govern plural verbs when addressing multiple people. Its usage is used to address kings, and you see that in Genesis chapter 23, verse 6. Okay. 𤬃𐤃 verbs. Identifying 𤬃𐤃 verbs. 𤬃𐤃 is a fundamental verb form in biblical Hebrew, often called the imperfect or future tense, indicating ongoing future or potential actions like he will kill, he is killing, or he might kill, characterized by a prefix and suffix vowel patterns. Crucial for understanding narrative flow, especially when a prefix with wav to become the common narrative 𝐬𝐃𐤃. So what is the 𤬃𐤃 in the verse in Psalms 110 and 1? It is asit. Asit, right here, right? Comes from the word sit. And what is the morphology of the word asit? It is a verb, it is a call, first person singular construct. It means to place and sit and set. It comes from the word sit. This shows a continuous action, not a one-time thing. Grammar proof Adonai is divine. So we'll go to Genesis 18 and 3. But really we're reading from all of this right here is Genesis 18 and 1 through 3, right? So let's go ahead and read it. Vayera Elah Yahweh Be'eloni Mamri Wehu Yosef Patah Hahohel Koham Hayam Waitisa Ena Wayar Wehene Solosa Asim Nasabim Alwa Wayar Wayaraz Likratam Mipatah Hohel Wayistahu Arisa Wayomer Adonai Im Na Masati Hin Beneka Al Na Ta'abor Ma'al Abeka. Right? So in the English, and appeared to him Yahweh by the oaks of Mamre. And he was sitting indoor to his tent in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and beheld 3 men were standing by him, and he saw them. And he ran to meet them from the door of the tent, and he bowed himself to the ground and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, pray, I pray, do pass on by your servant. Wayamir Adonai im na masati hin bin nekha al na ta'abor me'al abeka. Continue. Genesis 18 and 3 continue. It is it's in its plural form. Adonai is written in plural form with a commence under noon. It never takes a possessive suffix. It is reserved in the Masoretic tradition exclusively for Elohim, or the Most High. Adonai is. Adonai equals my Lord, human superior, human master, or human sovereign. Adonai does not equal Adonai, and Adonai does not equal Adonai. There is no grammatical ambiguity between these two forms, right? So now we have narrative context controls the referent, right? So the narrative syntax controls the referent. And what do I mean by that? This verse does not stand alone. It is controlled by a referent. Hebrew narrative determines reference by prior subject introduction. And we see that Yahweh is introduced prior in verse 1 where it says, 𝐤𝐃𝐿𝐃𝐿 Yahweh, right? And appeared to him Yahweh in verse 1. So that is the introduction of the subject because Yahweh is the subject. 𝐤𝐃𝐿 Yahweh. Yahweh is the active subject in the narrative scene. Verse 2 is the visual manifestation. Abraham sees 3 men. This is how Yahweh appears. This is not a change of subject. Okay, so don't get it confused as a change of subject. It's not just how Yahweh appears. It's just the visual manifestation. Biblical Hebrew regularly uses visible agents without reintroducing the divine subject. Verse 3 is direct speech. 𝐤𝐃𝐿 Adonay. Right? 𝐤𝐃𝐿 Adonay. No subject switch marker. No can't say it. 𝐤𝐃𝐿. No reintroduction of the men. Speech is anchored to Yahweh, the last introduced governing agent. So when you go in right here and you read Genesis 18:3 right here, when it shows you Yahweh is the last subject, right? Even these the 3 men is not the subject. The subject is introduced right here with Yahweh. Okay. This right here, so he lifted up his eyes and looked and beheld 3 men. That is the visual manifestation. The subject has already appeared. So now we have verbal agreement confirmation of Genesis 18:3. Right? So if you look, it says Masati hin ieneka, right? Your eyes. And this is singular. Al na. Well, hold on, I gotta get up. Oh, al na ta'abot. Do not pass by is a singular verb. If Abraham were addressing 3 men collectively, Hebrew requires plural verbs, plural suffixes. It's never used for humans in the Hebrew Bible. Human address always uses Adonai. Genesis 23:6, Genesis 24:12. The Masoretic pointing here is deliberate and consistent. Changing the meaning requires overriding grammar, not interpreting it, and that's what you would have to do to make Psalms 110:1 be a prophecy of Christ. Okay, and that's what people are doing. They're adding to the Torah because they're Hebrew grammar illiterate. They didn't take the time out to study. They just broke away from this camp, and was broke away from another camp, was broke away from another camp. None of them took the time out to actually study the grammar and the syntax and morphology and the of the Hebrew, classical biblical Hebrew, and they'll tell you that you're speaking Yiddish, not knowing that you're not. So, so address to Yahweh, action toward His messengers. This explains singular divine speech in verses 3-5. Later differentiation of the angels in Genesis 9:19. Yahweh remaining the speaking covenantal authority in Genesis 18:13-33. Because it'll switch back and forth in between. So now we're going to go to Psalms, back to Psalms, right? We're going to look at Psalms 110:5 versus Psalms 110:1. Even within Psalms 110, we see the distinction between the two. This is only shown with the grammar and not the English. We see Adonai referring to a human Lord, and we also see Adonai referring to the divine master. Right here, as you can see in verse 5, you see Adonai, and right here you see Adonai. Right, Adonai. You have the hierarch Yod, you have Kametz Yod. Right, so even within that chapter of Psalms of 110, You have the difference. It's showing you the difference. But you wouldn't pick up on this in the English because it's all going to say my Lord. And if your teachers didn't pick up on this and they're not teaching this to you, why are you sitting at their feet to learn? Why are they even teaching? It shows you they didn't do their due diligence, that they're not qualified. Now, so we're going to go into some more proof that Psalms 110 is about King David and not King David prophesying about Christ. And for that, we need to go to 1 Chronicles chapter 25, and we're going to read verse 5. Kal ele banim lechaman hosei hamalek bedebri ha'elohim laharim karin weyitin ha'elohim lachaman banim arba'a aser ubanot salovos. All these were the sons of Haman, seer of the king, in the words of God to exalt his horn, for God gave Haman sons 4 and 10, and daughters 3. Right? So what? Haman had 14 sons and 3 daughters. The word Hosea this is another word for prophet, one who sees visions. You see this same word used in 2 Samuel 24 and 11 for the Nabi, God. Right? That's how you said God. For Gad, the Hosea. And Amos, the Hosea. And Amos 7 and 12 as well. Okay? So Hosea means seer. So this was one of David's seer. Heman, right? Heman, the seer. Heman, the Hosea. Heman ha-Hosea. Heman, the seer. Seer is a prophet. Now, what did this prophet do? Right? What did this prophet Heman ha-Hosea do? Let's go to verse 6. Same chapter, 1 Chronicles 25 and verse 6. All these were under the direction of their father. For what? For music. For Yedeh. In the house of Yahweh with cymbals, strings, instruments, and harps for the service of the house of God under the authority of the king. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Haman were, and it goes on to the next verse, right? The phrase Yedei Hamelech shows the king gave them authority to create these psalms, right? Because he gave them musical instruments. He was already a seer. Context clues put the 2 and 2 together. Maybe it was him that wrote Psalms 110. I've already showed you that it doesn't say Mem Dawi, which would show David in the first person wrote it. It says Le Dawi, which to David, associated to David, toward David. Okay. And what does it say in the Hebrew? Kal ele al yadi abihim bersir bet yirewahe bin samtayam nabalim wekenurut la abodat bet ha-elohim al yadeh hamalek asaf wudutan wechaman. All right, so we have more proof. And this time we're going to go to 1 Kings 5 and 3. Right? And what did Solomon say in 1 Kings 5 and 3? He said, Ata yadata et David abi kilo yokol lebanot bayet lesim yulewahe eloha mibni hamilhama al-sir sabuhu atet yulewahe otam tahat koput reglo regle. You know David, my father, how not could build a house for the name of Yahweh his God, because of the wars which were fought against him on every side, until put Yahweh his foes under the soles of his feet. The word here put is tet, right? You see it right here. You see it right here. Al tet Yahweh, right? Al tet Yahweh. Tet means to put, to set. It is in the imperfect form, showing continuation, just like Psalms 110 and 1. Okay? Raglo is the single construct of ragle, is the plural meaning both feet. You see raglo, ragle. Soles of his feet. Put in the context of both feet. Right? So what does it say? Ata yadata et David abi kilo yokol libnot. Beyit lesim yulewahe eloha mibni Hama al sir sabahu atat yawahe 𝐤𝐃𝐍𝐉 atat 𝐤𝐃𝐍𝐉 at otam tahat kaput raglo ragle. The word otam, his foes, is a direct object pointing to the subject Dawid's enemies. The word sabahu, the word sebabuhu, is a call perfect third masculine singular from the second construct plural. This shows this event being spoken about already happened and is a completed action, i.e. in the past. As you can see, Yahweh is doing the submission of David's enemies through war of David's hands. All right. So in summary, divine versus human in the text, right? So divine, the summary of divine versus human in the text. Yahweh is unquestionably the divine speaker, God himself, Genesis 18. My Lord Adonai is traditionally understood as David, the human king, or a messianic figure like Joshua or Moses, etc. An exalted human, or even God's agent with divine authority, right? That would be a Kohen, Kohen. Vowelization. Kametz versus Hierarch under the noon is a linguistic grammatical feature, not inherently a theological marker. So this is not theology here. This is grammar. This is lexical. The word Adonai with Hierarch under the noon means my Lord in the human personal sense, a respectful title. Right? The speaker, Yahweh, is God or divine. The addressee, Adonai, my Lord, interpreted as David, the king, human, or Yahweh equals divine. Adonai equals human Lord or messianic figure, which would be, messianic figure would be a human figure. You know what I'm saying? Like David was a messianic figure because he fought against Israel's enemies. So was Moses. So was Gideon. So was Joshua. So was Samson. The list goes on and on and on of messianic figures. The vowelization simply reflects the grammar and pronunciation of the Hebrew word Adoni, meaning my Lord, human or messianic, distinct from the divine name Yahweh. So we showed you in Genesis 18 and Psalms 110 the differences, and we showed you in 1 Chronicles and 1 Kings. So that would be 3 witnesses. We only needed 2 witnesses per the law, Deuteronomy 19 and 15. So this absolutely concludes the matter that Psalms 110 is not a prophecy of Christ, but that it is a mentioning of King David. It is associated with King David, and somebody from his court wrote that. Okay. You can also, we went to 1 Kings, we went to 1 Chronicles, and then we showed you using Genesis 18 the difference between Adonai, and we also showed you within Psalms 110 the differences that are being used between Adonai and Adonai. So if I was able to edify you and and give you some understanding, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, let us know what was a breakthrough for you. Let us know what you didn't know before. If you already knew this information, let us know if you don't agree. If you don't like the video, hit the thumbs down. It's all needed for the algorithm. But if you especially enjoyed the video and especially got an understanding, then please hit the thumbs up button and share with all the those that you love, and learn some biblical Hebrew, man. Stop being scared of it. Stop running from it. It's going to be difficult at first, but once you focus on it, then you'll see that it gets easier over time. So sit down and learn some biblical Hebrew. And don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of the video, what you agree with, what you disagree with, all right? Until the next video, I bid you shalom. 𐤀𝐃𝐍𝐉 mispakah. Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Shalom, shalom.
Arser abete perro begerdo, yeta perro begalo que comen. Vai carnish beaderdo, yish beabegalo que comen. Genish 𝐤𝐃𝐍𝐉 arusanoto, benkini se tarro meganai. Asher Hami Temberok Pekeronto, Yitemberok Pekaloke Comin. Wagen Isbe Abekerovo, Isbe Abekeloke Comin. Geni Shakaho Kandarota Ursonoto, Wenkini Satarome Kanai. Ajo, Catarrota, Arroz, Noto,